The New York Islanders play well in game one, but it wasn't good enough. They fall to the Carolina Hurricanes 3-1. We'll break down what went wrong and what they need to do better moving ahead to game two. All that and more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
Your Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to this special bonus edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you can get new episodes as soon as they drop. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it's a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now. Now it's free on the App Store or Google Play. We have got a lot to discuss in the aftermath of Game 1, but first, if there's something Islanders related on your mind, if you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, you can email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we are happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You can also follow the show on X at Locked On Isles, and you can follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYR, VSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long. Plus, I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis. And it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Tough defeat for the New York Islanders in game one. And I'll tell you why. This game really will go down as a lost opportunity. And you could say to me, well, Gil, why is it a lost opportunity? Because the Carolina Hurricanes, they played well, but they didn't play their A game. And this road game was there for the taking for the New York Islanders, and they just couldn't seem to put it away. When you've got that opportunity, you've got to take advantage of it, especially when you're the underdog in a best-of-7 series. And look, you go into the first two games on the road knowing, okay, we've got to win one of these two games, and then we've got home ice advantage, and we can talk about, pulling away and getting things to the momentum in our favor and put the pressure squarely on the other team. Well, it didn't quite pan out that way, although the Islanders came close to getting it done. And, they outshot Carolina in this game, 34-26. Certainly got strong goaltending from Semyon Varlamov. He only gave up 2 goals in 25 shots. Can't say that either of the goals he let in were soft goals by any stretch of the imagination. But overall, this was a game that was even, that the Islanders outplayed the Hurricanes for large stretches of it, especially in the second period, and yet it wasn't quite enough for the Islanders to, win the game and steal home ice advantage in the series. And I'll give the Islanders credit for a number of things in this game. Number one, you know what? They fell behind early. Carolina was on the board just a minute and a half into this game, and it would have been very easy for the Islanders to be like, okay, here we go again. We're in trouble. No, they didn't do that, and they were able to come back, tie the game. It was all even midway through the first period, and it stayed that way until early in the third. The other thing that I think the Islanders did very well, got to give credit for blocking a lot of shots. And it wasn't just the defensemen. 5 out of the 6 defensemen had at least one block shot. The only player on the blue line who didn't block one was Mike Riley. Ryan Pollock had 3. Robert Bortuzzo had 3. You got your block shots, but among the forwards, Kyle McLean blocked 3 shots. Kyle Palmieri blocked 3 shots. So the effort, the hustle, the desire, that was clearly there in this game for the New York Islanders, and that was definitely a plus. We also noticed in this game that the Islanders were a little more conservative offensively. Their defensemen totaled 3 shots on goal in this game, while the only 2 forwards who did not record at least 1 shot on goal, Cal Clutterbuck and Matt Martin. So 4th line guys, they didn't register a shot on goal, but so be it. The other 10 forwards all had at least 1, and yet your defensemen playing it a little more conservatively, not pinching as often, not getting up and involved in the play as often. And the result was that you end up holding Carolina to just 26 shots. The second period was a dominant period for the New York Islanders. And they just, what was the situation where we were just with a few minutes left in the second period? Carolina just had 11 shots on goal for the whole game. So defensively, they were able to minimize the chances that the Carolina Hurricanes had, and they blocked a lot of shots, and they did a good job for long stretches of this game, probably until the third period, of, slowing down what is a talented and fast Carolina attack. And yet the problem is that the Islanders couldn't finish on the other end. And it's not like they didn't have chances. And you go back to the second period, Kyle Palmieri had a couple of really good chances. Anders Lee had 7 shots on goal in this game. Probably played his best game in quite a while. Ended up with 1 assist, 5 shots each for for Horvat and Barzal. The chances were there, but what we didn't see enough of in this game, even in the second period when the chances were there, not enough greasy goals, not enough rebounds, not enough guys in front of the net trying to screen Carolina goaltender Frederik Andersen. Think back to the 1 goal in this game scored by Kyle McLean. You had McLean and Lee both right in front of Andersen going for that loose puck and that scramble, and you end up putting the puck home. The Islanders have to understand, against a disciplined team like the Hurricanes that does not like to give up, long rushes through the neutral zone, those are going to be few and far between. You've got to get in those dirty areas. You've got to screen the goalie. You've got to get the rebounds and the deflections. And if you don't, boy, you've got to be almost perfect defensively. So the Kyle McLean goal was a good one to see. He did exactly what this team needs to do. I mean, Casey Cizikas had some chances. Horvat, Barzal, Brock, there were opportunities there, but the Islanders couldn't finish. And so you dominate the second period, and yet the game is still tied 1-1. And that hurt the Islanders. If you're up 2-1 or 3-1 after really controlling play for the middle 20 minutes of the game, boy, this is almost certainly a different outcome. But look, Islander fans, everydayers, let's face it, not being able to finish has been part of the problem that this team has struggled with, not just this season, but for a few years now. And it's something they're going to have to improve upon going forward. All right, we have got more to get to on today's show. We'll talk about our hero and GOAT of the game. and some more key takeaways from this contest. All that and more. We'll also have our Islanders birthday of the day, by the way, a popular enforcer from the late 1990s and early 2000s. Let's see if you can guess who that is. It's all that and more coming up on this episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Policygenius. Policygenius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time and money so you can provide your family with a financial safety net starting today. With Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 a year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Policygenius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help talk you through it. Talk to a team of award-winning agents who will walk you through the process step by step, and you can easily compare quotes from America's top insurers with just a few clicks to find your lowest price. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonnhl or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonnhl, policygenius.com/lockedonnhl. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Well, make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Another thing that really hurt the Islanders in this game, and again, it's something we talked about in our series preview, the crossover episode on Friday. Please, if you haven't had a chance to look at it, check it out with Zach Martin of Locked On Hurricanes. But special teams, we talked about how good all year Carolina has been, and we know the Islanders have struggled on special teams. They are 19th in the league on the power play, dead last on the PK. So you go into this game knowing that Carolina has a big advantage in that respect. And yet, in the game, again, the Islanders had a couple of chances on the power play. Not only did they not convert on those chances, but they absolutely struggled to create even opportunities. And then, obviously, the first goal of the game by Evgeny Kuznetsov came on the power play for Carolina. And we know that staying out of the box, and the Islanders gave 3 power play chances to Carolina, staying out of the box is going to be important. And look, I'll say it. You know me. I'm not a guy every day, as you know. I don't tend to criticize the officials. But 2 of the 3 penalties by the Islanders, the holding call on Anders Lee that happened just a minute and 22 seconds into the game, and then the slash by Kyle Palmieri midway through, or a little, with about 6.5 minutes left in the game. Those were questionable calls. Brady Shea on that Anders Lee hold, he went over and fell down so easily it wasn't funny. And even if it was a hold on Anders Lee, you could definitely talk about an embellishment penalty that would have evened things out. And again, with Slavin on the Palmieri slash, he went down. I mean, he definitely embellished the fall. Now, that being said, while they did embellish, hey, the referees, A, bought it and made the call, and B, especially for the Palmieri call midway through the third period, 6.5 minutes left, you can't even come close to slashing. You cannot take that penalty. And while Kyle Palmieri played a good game overall, you have got to be out there and cannot commit anything that would even resemble a penalty. So, the Islanders held the Hurricanes to 3 power plays, which is, to me, the maximum amount of chances you want to give us a really great power play like Carolina's. The problem is they let in the 1 goal, and then the Islanders' power play could not respond. And, okay, so special teams was a net +1 for Carolina in this game. But if you get rid of the empty net goal at the end, that's how much Carolina won by. And, if the Islanders convert on their power play, any one of them, or kill off that extra, penalty by Anders Lee, this is a different game. Special teams are more important in the playoffs than they are during the regular season, and they hurt the Islanders consistently throughout the regular season. If you want to pull off this upset, your penalty kill has got to be at least middle of the road, can't be terrible, and you've got to be converting on your power play because let's face it, there is less time and space in playoff hockey than there is in regular season hockey. That is the nature of the beast. The game is more physical. It's harder hitting, tighter checking. You aren't thinking, okay, there's another game in 2 days, and if we lose this one, we're going to come back and get the next one. You lose 4 games out of 7, you're done. You're hitting the golf course. And the Islanders' special teams has got to be better if they hope to win game 2 and get back into the series. It wasn't, the penalty kill, they gave up the 1 goal and 3 chances. It wasn't horrible, but if you can even break even on special teams over the course of the game, 5-on-5, the Islanders have a much better chance of winning games and winning this series. Whereas if there's a lot of penalties and the Islanders are spending time down a man or even up a man, that definitely favors the Hurricanes. And think back to the Palmieri penalty. The Islanders killed it off, but 6 minutes and 33 seconds were left when he took the penalty. And when the Islanders finished killing it, there was 4 minutes and 33 seconds left. Those 2 minutes were vital for the New York Islanders because those were 2 minutes where they just, Cizikas had one brief opportunity, or was it? It was either Cizikas or Barzal who had a little bit of a chance shorthanded. But realistically, that's 2 minutes you're unlikely to score. And you can't afford to take 2 minutes out of 6.5 off the clock. So difficult to see the Islanders fall short, and yet that's what they did. Going forward, you got to stay out of the penalty box for sure, and you've got to at least draw even on special teams, which is not going to be easy against this very talented Carolina Hurricanes team, which has top 3 in both power play and penalty kill. The lineup decisions, I think Patrick Roy made the right choice by going with Semyon Varlamov in game 1, and I think Varley played well enough to deserve to continue to be the starter in game 2. Would it shock me if Roy decides to go over to Ilya Sorokin for game 2? No. I think the right choice was made by playing Robert Bortuzzo over Sebastian Aho and Samuel Bolduc, although I was glad Bolduc played in the season finale. And also, just so you're aware, the other healthy scratches, and remember, the rosters can expand a little bit in the playoffs. So the healthy scratches on defense, Aho and Bolduc. The forwards were Oliver Wahlstrom, J.G. Pajot, who was unable to go, and then Ruslan Ishkakov, who is still up with the team and probably will stay there for the rest of this series. And then Jakub Skarek, the starting goaltender in Bridgeport, also brought up. He's available as the third goalie in case of an injury or an emergency. We have got more to get to on today's show. We've got our hero and GOAT of the game. Plus, we will talk about some things that need to change before game 2. And we'll have our Islanders birthday of the day. All that and more next on this episode, this bonus episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. We've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime, and the scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low, not sure if you or your team can pull out a win. But that's when you dig deep, lift your head up, and say to yourself, time to get back in the game, pull off some bank heists, and take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. That's right. The smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone anytime, with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do. Play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards. Make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball. Charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You could even work with your friends to crack open community chests in tournaments and get extra rewards and climb that leaderboard. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So, hero and go to the game. I thought about this, and this wasn't easy. I'm going to give 2 heroes and 2 GOATs in this game. To me, the hero of the game, I got to go with Kyle McLean for the goal. He deserved it. First career NHL playoff game. He comes up with the only goal for the Islanders. And then Varlamov for his solid play in between the pipes. So they are my co-heroes of the game. And as far as GOATs of the game, I got to go with Adam Pelech and Ryan Polak. And they were both -1 in this game. But more than that, the mistakes that they made led directly to goals by the Carolina Hurricanes. And, Pelech on the power play goal, the first goal of the game, he had a lot of time and space to clear the puck, didn't, turned it over, and it's in the back of the net. So that was one. And again, on the go-ahead goal, Ryan Polak let the Carolina player, in this case, Nason, behind him, let him screen Semyon Varlamov, did not prevent him from getting the puck, let him set up in front of the goal, and bingo, it's in the back of the net. Not to say these 2 guys were the only ones making mistakes, but clearly, in my mind, their mistakes led directly to the 2 non-empty net goals, and therefore I made them my GOATs of the game. Obviously, the Islanders were missing J.G. Pageau. He was going to be a game-time decision, and he could not go. That's a big loss. It was great that Noah Dobson was back. He led all defensemen in ice time with 21 minutes and 23 seconds. Did he look 100%? No, but he played well enough. Had 1 shot, 1 block shot, 1 takeaway. But look, a guy like Pageau, big on faceoffs, where the Islanders did not do as well as they normally did without Pageau in the lineup. Helps your penalty kill, which, again, struggled if you're the New York Islanders. And basically also, can give you some juice on that second power play unit. And maybe more importantly, for J.G. Pageau, you match him up with one of the more dynamic offensive players on the Hurricanes, whether it's Aho or, that top line of Aho, Jarvis, and Gunsel. You really want to have Pajot's line out there as often as possible against them. Now, that top line didn't do any damage offensively, goal-wise, in this game, but certainly being able to match up your best defensive center and his line mates with that top line, to me, would be important. Oh, yeah, Jake Gensel, no shots on goal in this game. Sebastian Aho, only 1. Seth Jarvis had 3. But the big shooter in this game for Carolina was basically Andrei Svechnikov with 6 shots on goal. So the Islanders have some work to do, some things to clean up, stay out of the box, finish when you get the opportunity, keep this game 5-on-5, and when you do get opportunities, finish. Find a way to get those dirty goals, get in front of the net, screens, tips. This is a situation where you need Anders Lee to be Anders Lee. You need Bo Horvat to get in front of goals. Kyle McLean did it and was rewarded for it. You need guys to get in those dirty areas and pull off, plays like that, and it will be huge for the Islanders if they can do it, because the pretty goals will be few and far between, not just in any one game, but in this series. All right, time for our Islanders birthday of the day. And, Saturday was the 49th birthday of former Islanders winger Steve Webb, the native of Peterborough, Ontario, a 7th-round pick of the Sabres back in 1994. Made his NHL debut with the Isles in 96-97. Stayed with the team through 2002-2003 before joining, through 2003-2004 before finishing his career with the Penguins. Played in 321 career NHL games, 5 goals, 18 points, 534 penalty minutes, add 14 playoff games, all with the Islanders, and 28 penalty minutes in those games. For Webb, one of his best games as an Islander, October 10th, 2001 at the old Mellon Arena in Pittsburgh. Islanders and Penguins, Chris Osgood, the Islanders goalie, J.S. Aubin, the goalie for the Penguins, and it didn't take long. The first goal of this game belonged to Steve Webb, Max Lindgren, and Claude Lapointe with the assist that gave the Islanders a 1-0 lead, and they ended up winning this game by a score of 6-3. 2 goals in this game for Mark Parrish, a goal and 3 assists for Claude Lapointe, but a big goal for Steve Webb. And oh, by the way, Steve Webb doing Steve Webb things. He dropped the gloves with Mike Wilson of Pittsburgh midway through the hockey game, 8:11 mark of period 2. And no assists, so he came up just short of that elusive Gordie Howe hat trick. But Steve Webb is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Happy 49th birthday to Steve Webb. All right, I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Everydayers, we will be back tomorrow on the show. We'll look ahead to Game 2. Plus, we will have some more keys to the Islanders' success, some of the things they need to change up after a well-played but not well-played enough Game 1 of this series. So, until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. Hope you enjoyed this bonus episode of the Locked On Islanders podcast, because it's the playoffs. Figured we would throw in a bonus episode. And, of course, let's go Islanders.